Good afternoon, everyone. The National Climate Assessment. Temperatures are going to rise 12 degrees Fahrenheit across the U.S. and Canada. Must be the IPCC heat unicorn again. We've never seen those temperatures rise. Oh, that one-off record cold Thanksgiving temperatures. Oh, what about this Arctic blast all the way down to Cuba and southern Mexico? We saw what the icy blast looked like across Thanksgiving. Smashing snow records by 4 or 5 times the previous totals, triple the previous totals. Cold records smashed back 1895, 1880, 1874. Boston new records by 5 degrees Fahrenheit. But St. Johnsbury broke the old record by 11 degrees. All-time record cold in Syracuse. Sault Ste. Marie smashed. Toronto in the entire month of November completely below normal. And I can explain it to you what a grand solar minimum is, but I cannot understand it for you. This E.S.T grand solar minimum is a reset button for our society. As our solar activity decreases, so is the amount of crops we're able to grow across the planet. And the fourth National Climate Assessment is such a disservice to the American people. Only talk about temperatures rising to disrupt agricultural productivity. What about the grand solar minimum? And during these uncertain times, I've teamed up with my Patriot Supply long-term food storage. A nice, affordable starter kit. 2-week food supply, 1,500 calories per day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinners, plus the 4-gallon storage containers included in that. This is a good first step in getting more self-sufficient. And if you click through the Prepare with ADAPT 2030 page in My Patriot Supply, you can get this starter kit for $75. Please remember there's a limit of 2 per household in this special offer. In the mythical, magical IPCC heat unicorn, again across North America, guaranteed temperatures are going to rise. Look at this National Climate Assessment. By the end of the century, the U.S. will rise between 3 and 12 degrees Fahrenheit because of gases. Be scared again. It's been 40 years, and we're not even up a full half degree yet. And we have the most carbon dioxide in the atmosphere so far, and we've been promised runaway global warming, and it just hasn't happened. So why, with this ridiculous report, 12 degrees Fahrenheit, and the damage control was right away. This all-time record freeze event across the East Coast up through the Maritimes of Canada, record-breaking temperatures, was a one-off created by global warming. Heat equals cold in the new world. Truth equals lies, and lies equals truth. Satellite looks more like Christmas morning than U.S. Thanksgiving. Remember this event? The media would like to have you forget it because it was such a one-off. Well, except for this next Arctic blast that's coming this week and going to extend all the way down to southern Mexico. Cold temperatures in Cuba. But never mind that. It's all because of global warming. And if you are in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, FEMA just put out a special weather statement talking about the rain that's falling could turn into ice on the roads. Despite the air temperatures being barely above freezing, the residual area at ground level still could freeze. So be careful driving, walking, or doing anything outdoors. These patchy ice areas, you just won't see them. So do a quick recap of the top snow and cold weather events during Thanksgiving 2018 that smashed records. Let's just go through it. Rhode Island. This is the TF Green Airport. The old record, 1906, was 1.5 inches. The new record, 6 inches. Literally 4 times the old record. They didn't talk about too much in the news article. They just showed, 6 to 8 inches falling. One little line there about the record breaking. If that would have been heat, that would have been front page, 16 paragraphs explaining global warming, etc. But a 4-time shattering of the old snow record, and you get a nice, less than 20-word sentence to explain it all. Thanks for the in-depth coverage. Pennsylvania, at least Penn State Live, giving it a little more in-depth look. Harrisburg, 8.3 inches, breaking the old record of 3 inches, 1911. Almost a 3x break on that. Williamsport, the old record, 2.5 inches, the new record, 6.9, almost 7 inches, more than doubling the old record. This kind of snow is not normal on Thanksgiving. Some would even call it rare. Rare in 100 years, century type of rare, no less. And you said, you're cherry picking century. What are you talking about? 1895. Well, that's actually more than a century. We're going to jump up into Canada here. Ottawa, more than 4 degrees, and this is Celsius, cooler than the 1895 record. And I want to stay on the century marks here because I like things that are more than 100 years old, antiquities, if you will, such as temperature records, snow records like this. 1880, shattered. I thought there was so much CO2 in our atmosphere, it was just going to run away. I guess not. Brockville, 1874. Wonder what was happening back then. We'll take a look at the solar activity and see if we can match it up. Kingston, smashed, 1880. We saw that one earlier, but I wanted to show you the graphic that came with this. See all the mist and fog on there? That's got to be the magical IPCC heat unicorn heating up the whole northern hemisphere. Yep, cold equals hot now. See, the image just proved it with the IPCC unicorn. And the naysayers will say, David, you are cherry picking. Well, November in Toronto, see those blue boxes? That is a day that was below normal temperature. Looks like most of the month so far. And that Thanksgiving holiday was brutal. Look at these. Toronto and Ottawa, both new record cold temperatures. Now, the old record, 1972, was 14.4 degrees below zero. New record, 17.9. That's a nice 3 degrees C snap right there. 1938, Ottawa as well, over a degree. Now, the list of record-breaking temperatures is indeed long. It is a shopping list plus. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these records being broken. It was such an anomalous event, all caused by heat, of course. And just looking at Canada, 11 out of 13 provinces in the entire country below freezing, but not just a little. 21 degrees below zero. That's kind of chilly for this time of the year. Montreal, low temperature, a far cry from the average 4 degrees Celsius. And the old record snapped as well. Let's take a look through that other laundry list here of broken records. North Bay, 1949. I just chose the ones that were larger amounts of temperatures being broken. So the new record is 26 below zero. The old record, 18.9. It's almost 8-degree difference. And as you run through the rest there, it's between 4 and 5 degrees. Now, I came across an interesting entry in there, too. It was talking about the Wabash Lake new record cold temperature at minus 31.7 degree, but they never told what the old record was. So I went into the average November temperatures here, and it's looking somewhere around 4 to 5 degrees for the low on the average. And when you start comparing that to the Fahrenheit temperatures anyway, when you're looking at 25 below in the Fahrenheit, that is ridiculous cold for this time of the year. See, they don't try to compare the temperatures because this was such an anomalous weather break right here that they didn't even put the numbers down for you so you could really compare the temperature difference. And they scrambled it with Fahrenheit and Celsius to even confuse you further. Anyway, while I was digging into the records here, Windsor, Ontario, 2017, last year, what do you see there? All-time record cold. This seems to be a trend around Ontario for these weather records being smashed. So I wonder what will happen next year. Now keep in mind all the experts that are telling you this cold is caused because of heat and don't worry about it, we're still going to get a super hot planet. These are the same people telling you sea levels are going to rise and erase our cities for the last 40 years. This comes out of Scientific Reports, 2018 study. 76% of the globe's shorelines are stable or growing. But wait, I thought they said we're going to have to leave the coast and abandon trillions of dollars in property values because sea levels are going to rise so much. And even the places where it is rising, it's really just millimeters. It's nowhere close to meters. Yet these are the same people who are giving the input for the 4th National Climate Assessment. And any of you listening in the United States, you should actually be perturbed that they would put out such erroneous reaches for what the climate is going to do and how lopsided they are on it. Rising temperatures based on heat only. They won't discuss the grand solar minimum. It's not even mentioned in here. They never talk about temperature decreases affecting our crops. It's only rising temperatures. This is such a disservice for what is known, now publicly stated even by NASA and the European Space Agency and a number of well-known astrophysicists saying, hey, we're heading into a grand solar minimum. This is going to affect our crop yields, and they are only focusing on rising temperatures. But case in point, this lower solar activity means we're going to be able to grow less crops on our planet. And literally, when I say less, I'm talking about 60% less than we're growing now, somewhere around 2025. That's going to continue to decrease as we get toward the end of the 2020s. Solar activity is going to something we haven't seen in 400 years. In the Maunder minimum, our temperatures are going to be breaking 400-year cold records. Right now, we're only dipping back to the 1880s. What happens when we start breaking cold records back to the 1640s? What do you think is going to happen with our agriculture? And if you're still just trying to become a little more familiar with what the grand solar minimum is, I put together a nice reading list on Amazon, linked below. There's about 25 different books in here, and also Electric Universe and how everything ties together, the electromagnetic connection from our sun to our earth, how this affects jet streams, your food prices, and your life moving forward. And I truly say this, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. This Eddy Grand Solar Minimum is going to take us back to temperatures we have not seen in 400 years, and our climate is going to shift, something that we haven't seen in centuries. This is definitely a reset button for our society, and they're still doing the great disservice to everybody out there that could be preparing for this event by saying it's only going to heat. Makes no sense anymore. It really doesn't. And during Thanksgiving, in the United States, bitterly cold forecast, all-time records. Let's take a look at what really happened. How low did these temperatures go? How many records were broken? Oh, thousands, plural. This is just a good gauge here of the highs for the day didn't even reach into the teens. Anywhere you see that blue, those are single-digit highs for the day, and those are in Fahrenheit, not Celsius. Record-challenging lows in the list of cities continued and continued. And when you're looking at places like Burlington, Vermont, and they're looking around 2 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the middle of February temperatures. Albany, New York weather station had a great run down here. Everywhere you see was a new record. That's just a small little list of what was broken in a single location around Albany. Everywhere you look, New York, Maine, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, thousands of new cold temperature records. And this is the winner for the entire event right here. St. Johnsbury broke the old record by 11 degrees Fahrenheit. But notice the old record was set in 2014. Seems like a trend. Here we are from Boston, National Weather Service, Worcester, right at the top there. Hartford, I circled that in red. 5 degrees, smashing the old record, as well as Boston. They were tying that record, 1880. Another century antiquity mark reached. And Sault Ste. Marie is up in Ontario again. Coldest November, 23.4 degrees. Now you've seen a little bit of that snippet before in some of the slides, but then also take a look at the new records that were also coldest in November, coldest November 21st, 22nd, earliest 20 degrees below 0 Celsius. Oh, since 1975. Solar activity maybe. Syracuse breaking the all-time cold record for November, plus the previous coldest temperatures, 1938. You see, those are Fahrenheit temperatures. Those are not Celsius. But that's not the coldest. I'm saving the best for last. Mount Washington, minus 26 degrees Fahrenheit. And hurricane force winds dropping the wind chill to 75 degrees Fahrenheit below 0. That's incredible. That's an Arctic temperature. And if you just thought it was Canada, Northeast, parts of the U.S., I don't think so. This is Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, coldest week ever recorded. If you take a look at the average and then the departure, 20, 13, 20, 21 degrees below the normal. That entire week shattered all records. Yet somehow we're supposed to believe the magical unicorn from the IPCC's heating is causing all this record cold, and this is what they're trying to sell to the public. I think you need to look for some other explanations, one of them being a grand solar minimum. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. If you like this type of analysis and commentary, Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast on Libsyn, SoundCloud, iTunes, and anywhere you can find a podcast hosted across the net, as well as BitChute, Brighton, which was Real.video, and YouTube.